Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Buckchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today, we want to get you fired up about music. My guest today is Tikka, and we are talking about his newest project. That's what Winston Churchill said. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Tom. Thank you so much for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming back on. Now, I have had the privilege of having you on Daily Spark TV, and I enjoyed my time with you. So thank you for stopping by, even if it is just for a few moments, to kind of enlighten us and see what's going on with your music on this side of the year. I had you on for Christmas, so even though it's late in the year, Happy New Year, right? So this is the first time I'm talking to you in 2021. So thanks so much for being on. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with you, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Well, I guess I'm a songwriter, artist, musician, singer, producer these days, pretty much the whole package. I started writing songs when I was 6, and just kept going. Got my first recording contract when I was 21 with a small indie label. Then later on, got signed by Sony BMG. Then sort of just kept writing, even if the band Carmen Gray that I was writing for disbanded roughly about 10 years ago, and just kept doing what I'd always done. Then basically met Anti Audio, and together we started the Impersonators. And I've also then during the past couple of years, I've been working on my solo stuff as well. So that's me in a nutshell. I've gotten a few hits along the way, a couple of awards, and critical praise as well. Bad reviews, everything you can imagine. But it's that's basically I don't know, 20 years in a more than 20 years if I take you back to the time I was 6, but a lifetime of music in a couple of minutes.
And I love it. And thank you for giving us that very well-rounded picture of you. And listeners, of course, you can go to tomtikka.com and you can see all of the accolades that he is able to share with us, because he's done some really awesome stuff. And I love that he's trying to be humble here. That really says a lot about your heart, Tom. Thank you for that. Now, with everyone, be it that you are in music or you're an author or even if you are a clergyman, you have people that have influenced you along the way, people that you admire for their fortitude, their go-at-itness, or people that have really inspired you, that have really helped you have an aha moment. Do you have any music people that have influenced you or your music or helped you have that aha moment with your music?
Well, I mean, so many, and it's very difficult to think of everyone right now. I guess the biggest influence that I had growing up, or rather, not musically, but in terms of coaching, was my dad. He always he asked me to take, to put it in a nutshell, he wanted me to look at music as a job. So his idea was that if you write a song every day, then at the end of the year, you've got 365 songs, out of which maybe 10 are excellent. And so basically, he was the guy who was always rooting me on, keep writing, keep looking at this as just a regular profession, and that's how you grow and that's how you learn. So I think that in terms of getting started and somebody who rooted me on constantly was my dad. My aunt's husband was the one then who taught me guitar. And I think that, and also songwriting, I don't think that I would have become anything without him, because he he's about 10 years older than I am, and he used to sit down with me every Friday when they came over to hook up with my parents. My parents made dinner for them, but in all honesty, he was always in my room. We're playing guitars. And then later on, obviously, Carmen Gray's manager, Peter Kokliushkin, and all the people at Sony BMG. It's a sort of a incredible amount of professionals. But in terms of music, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Rolling Stones, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Aerosmith, and so forth. I just, to this day, I think that the Beatles and the Beach Boys are probably my major influences. I don't think you can do better than that.
At least you have some awesome people that are included in that list, and I think that most people are going to nod their heads and say, absolutely, I can see why he admires those people, or they've influenced just the way that you understand and appreciate music, most definitely. And even for that listener out there that says, well, I don't know, there is a song from each one of those bands that, yes, you know it, and it's a hit, because it was an awesome song, so it's like there's something that you can always take away, even if you don't write that particular style of music. You can still learn the lesson that they have to teach you. I love that. Now, your latest project that you're working on, that's what Winston Churchill said. I have to ask you, why that title? How did you come up with it? I love it. It really catches your eye.
Well, yeah, it's actually one of my favorite song titles by me. It was written at a time when it was an all-time low for me. I was sort of, I had gotten divorced, and I was living in a studio apartment. I was watching TV, and being very phlegmatic, and there was a BBC documentary on Winston Churchill. It was basically a 3-hour documentary, three episodes. And it just sort of, I kept watching it, and as I was sort of about to doze off, there was one of his speeches where he said that, if you're in hell, keep going. The idea being that if you're fighting a war, if you're in hell, don't stop, just keep going. It'll come to an end at some point. And it just sort of, that moment stayed with me, and I thought that then later, a little bit later on, when I was looking for a song title for this sort of a bluesy type of song I was writing and recording, I remembered that moment. Then later on, maybe 5 years down the road, 7 years down the road, and I thought that, man, can I use that somehow? If you're going through hell, keep going, don't stop. And then I realized that, yeah, I'll put that in the lyrics, but I'll call the whole song. That's what Winston Churchill said, because that is exactly what he said. And so it's the quote is there, but I kind of wanted his name in the title as well. And after the song was done, I sent it to my label, to Michael Stover, who's basically been the executive producer on the EP, and another person who's rooted me on, one of the most important people in who I'm working with right now. And he said that, it's a great song title. Why not call the EP that as well? So I thought, it's a great idea. Let's do that, but that's where the name comes from, where the inspiration comes from. And that's how it ended up being the name of the EP.
I love it. No, I love it because, I think that many people, especially if you're a quote person, I love amazing quotes, and especially if they really make an impact on you, if they challenge you, if they charge you, if they give you an action to do that's going to make you better. And why not give credit where credit is due? And I think that he's one of those names that pretty much the world over, some respect definitely comes with that name. So I can understand that. I love it. I love it. Do you think that you have been able to share some of your Finland influence on the rest of the world, and that has made its way through in how you write your songs, or how you just present your love of music to the world?
That's it's hard to say, and it's a really good question. Also a hard one, because I grew up in the States. I had Finnish parents, and my honest answer to that is that I've never really watched Finnish movies or listened to Finnish music because a lot of my life I've lived elsewhere. I've lived in Finland now for about 10 years in a row, but obviously we speak English at home. we watch English speaking movies. It's all happening in English, and so in terms of Finnish culture, my wife works with me, especially on the music videos. Actually, she makes those for me, and she's Finnish through and through, and she's always sort of trying very hard to bring something that's Finnish culturally into those videos. Sometimes it's the place that we're shooting the music videos in or at, and sometimes it's just maybe there was a music video where we had a bride running. It was a Christmas music video in the snow, and so that's basically the Finnish forest, the Finnish wintry scene, and that sort of thing. In terms of music, I think that musically, culturally, I don't, like I said, it wasn't just that I grew up in the States, but my parents listened to CCR, Led Zeppelin. It was all just English-speaking music. So in terms of music, I'm afraid, even though I'd love to say that, I'm bringing something that's very, very Finnish into the music. In all honesty, I think that I'm afraid I'm not.
And that it's so interesting because I've asked that question to some other people, and their answer was pretty much the same too. They were like, well, I grew up stateside, so I am very much kind of American in my expression. Though ethnically I may be, or my parents were born there, but I was born here, so I am just as red, white, and blue as everybody else. And I understand that. It really says a lot about just you are where home is. That even though you may be appear to be one way to someone, it really is home is where your heart is. And we do add those little bits and pieces, I think, along the way. I spoke with one author, and he says, my parents are from the continent of Africa. I was born in Canada, and I've been in LA since I was 16 years old. He's like, and I just start laughing. I was like, I understand what you mean. And you just take those bits and pieces of who you are and you kind of just meld it together, and that's the product. And most people like it, however it comes out. So I love that. I love that. Now, one last question for you, and thank you again for spending time with us today, and that is, with COVID still kind of dictating what we're able to do and not do for that fact, how has getting out and staying in contact with your fan base, how have you been able to do that? Are you doing like the Zoom get-togethers and all of that? Are people able to still kind of virtually reach out and touch you?
Well, actually, here's another funny thing, is that because my projects nowadays, the music projects that I work on, whether that be the impersonators or my solo stuff, they're all studio projects. And so I've done some live performing, which is usually me on an acoustic guitar somewhere. But I haven't really toured or played live a whole lot during the past 5 or 6 years. I've done my share of it, and it's awful to say I don't really miss that, except when I'm on stage. That's that's when I'm sort of like getting to it, and whenever I walk off stage, I'm thinking I'm going back, but then I never do. But in terms of answering your question, I've actually played live more now than I would have under normal circumstances because of these online shows, and at some point Michael was very good at getting me those, and so I just basically never done them. I said yes to everything, I played quite a number of them, and I quite enjoyed them. The first one was kind of strange because anybody who's ever gotten up on stage and played in front of an audience, you feed off of the audience, and you can see their reaction. So it's kind of weird, You just you turn on your camera and you sit in front of a computer, and you're playing live, and even without the audience rooting you on, you're supposed to bring your best game to the table, all your best moves and so forth. It feels really weird seeing yourself, on your computer screen. It takes some getting used to. And I think that, there's definitely a humorous element there. But, oddly enough, I'm probably one of the few musicians who can say that I've actually played live more, now than I would have otherwise. Obviously, as long as the online live counts.
Absolutely. I love it. And, I tell you, we are still adjusting to the various ways of getting used to our new normal. And I jokingly say by the time we get used to it, everyone in the world will be vaccinated. And then we're supposed to go back to the way that we were doing things before. And you'll be like, what? I just figured out this other thing. So it'd be quite interesting to see how
a whole new
what we throw away.
That's what I mean. Whole new existence where you don't have to leave the comfort of your own home.
Right. I tell you, it's starting to be like the movie. I think it's Network with Sandra Bullock in it, where she was able to do everything from her home. So I tell you, quite interesting. Well, Tom, Tikka, thank you so much for stopping by and spending some time with us here today. My last question for you is that for folks who want to reach out to you, spend some time with you virtually, however they can, what is the best way for them to do that? And, of course, to pick up any of your music.
I think that the best way probably is to either go to www.tomtikka.com or impersonatorsmusic.com. Those two web pages will give you all the info that you need. There'll be links to the music and to reviews, articles. There'll be pictures and so forth.
Absolutely.
So that's the best way. That's the best way.
Thank you again, Tom, for being a guest on Daily Spark with Dr.
No, thanks for having me. Yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. And listeners, thank you for spending some time with us as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today we want you fired up about music. My guest today is Randy Seedorff, and we're talking about his project, Begin Again. You know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Randy. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Well, thank you, Dr. Angela. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the radio with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, as is our tradition here, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to the few people out there that may be unfamiliar with you or with your music. So my first question to you is, what makes you, you?
Well, I'm a pastor and a worship pastor from Kansas City, Missouri, and I've been a musician and an artist for over 30 years now. And I started when I was very young, probably about 11 years old, playing with my mother, who was a country music artist. My uncle was also a country music artist too, so it kind of got in my blood at a young age. And so I started writing songs as a teenager and recording in my 20s. And I think this is project number 4 that we're getting ready to do now. But I've been playing regionally and internationally now for many years now, and enjoy being an artist. I enjoy writing songs, and I enjoy the fellowship of going out and playing music.
Absolutely. And I can definitely understand how you say that music is in your blood. I definitely understand that. Now, the title of your most recent project, Begin Again. How did you come about that title?
Well, I think everybody goes through phases in their life. And it's kind of like going out, if you were surfing, and you catch a wave and you ride that wave to the shore, and then you have to paddle out and start over again. And each phase of ministry, I guess, in our life has a season. It has a beginning and an end. And for me, this is a new season of my life. And so I went back to my roots and started thinking about my childhood, and that's where this project came from, Begin Again.
Definitely. I can understand that. And I tell people all the time that life is exactly what we make it, right? That we read that quote or we see that meme from time to time, but it really is true that we should try to create beautiful memories every day. When we're in situations like we are now with COVID and we're not able to go out and about as much as we would like, but we have those moments to kind of sit down, reminisce, and say, do you remember when I can't wait when we can again, and be able to share those memories and have those nostalgic good feelings pop up again. I love that. I love that. Now, what role has faith played in your life? You mentioned that you were a pastor, but you're also a musician. So needless to say, it's important, but was there a particular moment where it really kind of struck you, wait a minute, my faith is important?
I had a time in my life back in the early 90s when I wasn't living for the Lord, and I had an armed robbery experience during that time. Some guys broke into the restaurant where I was working. I was in the hospitality industry, and I ended up tied up on the floor, and they were getting ready to take my life. And so I had this moment when I was, just reaching out to God, and I was repenting, and I was just saying, Lord, I'm sorry for the life that I've been living, and I asked for His forgiveness, and He just poured into my life, and that was a brand new start for me, that moment right there. And there was a honk on the horn of the getaway car, and they left without taking my life. And I got a new life in the Lord that day. And so God gave me a purpose, and that was to be a messenger with Him through music. I call myself a musicianary. So that's my life now.
I like that. What an amazing story. Oh my goodness. And I'm so glad that you have taken advantage of this second chance, of this, beginning again that the Lord has given to you. I tell you, sometimes people don't understand the gift of life and what we are allowed to do every morning when we wake up. But I think you have definitely figured it out. Oh my goodness, what a story. Now, one of your singles is entitled Family Tree. Like the title, what has been your reaction, or what feedback have you been getting from that?
Well, it's really been positive. Actually, last week, Firefest in the United Kingdom, it is a group of Methodist churches in northern England. They do a festival every year. Actually, in 2019, I got to go over and lead worship in the cities of northern England. But they played our video during Firefest, and so we got a lot of feedback internationally. It went out to multiple countries, Africa, in Central Europe, and it's it's about the stages that we have in our life. I think for me, seeing with my family when I was young, the birth of my son, and of course the moment that I accepted Christ, those were big events in my life, and that's what the song is written about. Those moments they're etched in my memory. They're carved on my family tree. So.
I like it. I like it. Wow, you're so right. It is those things. Leaving that legacy is so important. I love it. I love it. Now, for so many artists, where they grew up makes a difference in how they view life. It doesn't matter if you are a Midwesterner, a Southerner, West Coast, or you're from the East Coast. There's a little bit of something that makes us simply where we were raised. Do you think that because you are a Midwesterner that has had an effect on how you view life and how you're able to process the way that you share your music?
Well, I absolutely think so. Being from the Midwest, I grew up in Kansas City. Actually, my folks farmed up in Northeast Iowa before we moved to Missouri. And so, Midwest values, and I think that was good. It seems like a lot of the trends in our society start on the coast, and then they move their way to the Midwest. So we kind of got things a little bit later here in the Midwest, but I think just family values and growing up in the Midwest really helped me have a good foundation in my life. I had strong family around me, and I think that really helped me write good songs. I think there's a great music culture here in the Midwest. Kansas City is the home of Kansas City Jazz. It's the 18th and Vine district. It's also a big bluegrass center of the United States. So lots of acoustic music. There's some really good musicians like Brewer and Shipley that are from here, some of the great duos. So, the Midwest was a great place to grow up and be a songwriter, and a good place to get started.
Absolutely. I know some really great folks that are from the Midwest, so I have to agree with you there. Now, with COVID being in the way of us traveling and doing as much as we would like as in years past, I understand that for many artists, they have to think differently about their plans. Where you plan to be on the road or, just going around doing events. What is on the agenda for you for the remainder of 2021? Considering, again, COVID's in the way, are you still able to plan to get out there and do some meet and greets with folks?
Well, I'm trying to put together something for this summer. I'd like to do a release party for our album this summer when people can actually be there. There are some live venues in Kansas City that are operating, but with social distancing. And so there is some opportunity out there, but it looks like a lot of our opportunity right now, because of COVID-19, is going to live stream. And so there's a lot of those things going on right now. A lot of Vivo, and people are just trying to transition so that they can stay connected with their fans, stay connected with the people that they follow, that follow them, and they're just having to find creative ways to do that. I would like to do a tour this summer, but it's just really limited opportunities right now.
Absolutely. And you're right. I have attended, some of those virtual concerts that people have done. And I tell folks, sure, it's not what we would have wanted, but it's better than nothing at all. And you do get to at least see your artist, you get to experience some new music, and it's like, it won't be like this forever. So me trying to always, stay as positive as I can. It's like, well, I would rather have this than have nothing at all. But you're right. Trying to find your way is quite challenging sometimes. But I agree with you. Do those virtual events. At least you get a piece of you as opposed to nothing at all. Well, Randy, thank you so much for spending time with us here today and stopping by for a while to share your new project with our listeners. But before I let you go, please remind everyone of the title of your project, where we can get a copy, and of course, how do we stay in contact with you?
Well, the name of our new project is called Begin Again. My name is Randy Seedorff, and you can find a lot of information on our webpage at randyseedorff.com. Our new EP is due out in 3 weeks. You can find our single, which just released, Family Tree, on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Deezer, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, and Pandora. And when our EP releases, you'll be able to get the full record on all of those digital platforms as well.
I love it. So if you're happening to you didn't catch this live on radio, but you're listening to this on one of those streaming platforms you just mentioned, hop on over and find his project. We're on those platforms. He's on those platforms. Look at God make it easy for you. That was absolutely beautiful. I love it. Thank you again, Randy, for spending time with us here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Well, thank you again for having me on, Dr. Angela, and I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Absolutely. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone.